because a lot of people that sent it to me from Boston, National Action Network yesterday, felt that it had racial implications. I'm not even saying that. I'm asking them first to explain what you could possibly have meant on the front. This is the front cover. Fade to Blacko.
I want to ask you as well, you spoke about the legacy of Micheal Jackson quite extensively, and what the message of his story is, that people who are marginalized can succeed. And can you just repeat
I think that Micheal Jackson is the ultimate success story of him and a family. One of the reasons I'm going to Los Angeles to meet with his brothers and father and mother, and I spoke with all of them yesterday by phone, is that I think people don't understand this was a family that came out of Gary, Indiana, that were poor, working class family, had a dream and God-given talents, and they used those talents to set not only a career that was unbelievable, but they changed and transformed global culture, pop culture changed because of this family. And I hope that in all of the coverage of whatever accesses Micheal Jackson may or may not have had, that we don't lose sight of. He represented hope, and he represented the realization of dreams to so many of us that come out of similar backgrounds, and that we don't need to lose that inspiring message. And I think that's why there's such an emotional attachment to Micheal Jackson. When you saw the reaction all over the world the other day when he died, and the reaction that is still all over the world, I don't think people understood that they were not dealing with Micheal the way some of the tabloids were. They saw Micheal as the guy they knew in the neighborhood that made it at our times, that made it against all the odds. They saw him and his brothers staying together. So we kind of saw kinship there. And that's why I'm meeting with the family in LA. I'm going to fly back all night to do what we're going to do at the Apollo on Tuesday, where the Jacksons performed on amateur night one night. And at the exact time of his death, Tuesday afternoon, we're going to pause, and that's why I will give a eulogy right in at that time in front of the Apollo Theater. And I will also announce whatever the family has decided when will be the official celebration that they will do when and wherever they do it. But this is a story that should not be muddied without dealing with the triumph. I'm not saying that the media ought to be sensitive, but I'm saying let's tell the whole story. And a lot of the story is not being told about what he really meant to ordinary people.
Rev, I noticed that you were crying, you were so passionate, so, you know, what was going through your mind?
I mean, I knew Micheal for 35 years, and as I said, we met when both of us were teenagers. I was about 19, he was like 15 or 16, and he sang at a civil rights benefit in Chicago, and him and his brothers. So I kind of knew him, and as we got older and James Brown kind of adopted me, and I'd be around James Brown, I'd run into Micheal. And then in the 80s, we got very close when I did work with his tour, and then he would come to me when he felt the music industry was bothering. In 2002, this picture, he came out headquarters and spoke. I don't remember Micheal speaking at any other civil rights group. He certainly never went to another march other than when we marched on Sony Records that day, and he helped me lead the march. So as I was recounting some of the things he went through, I thought about days he would sit and talk to me about it, and it just brought tears to my eyes because I knew how much it hurt him that people didn't understand that he was more than a caricature. I mean, I've sat with him in Neverland, I've sat with him in various hotel suites where it pained him that people didn't understand the difference between his show business persona and who he was. And I guess it just came back to me, all of the private pain that he would share with me, which is probably what made me cry today, because I know for myself, from his mouth to my ears, how he felt about his journey and felt about a lot of things, how he really dreamed of owning that catalog. He didn't want to end up like he'd seen a lot of artists before him, not owning nothing, not having nothing. And that's why he fought so hard to keep that catalog. And that's why we marched on Sony. And even though he died, they say with so many deaths, he still owned a piece of that catalog. He never lost that piece of that catalog. And that's probably, people don't want to say it, it's probably the most valuable property in the music business.
I want to ask you, Reverend, perhaps this picture is so offensive because, as you said in your talk today, that you don't want him depicted as a freak.
Right.
And this does.
This not only marginalizes him as a freak, it says to kids that need to be inspired by Michael to don't be like that. Yeah, Michael had his own style, but so do most entertainers. And like I said in my speech, Sinatra had a style, and Sinatra had controversies and all kind of questions, and so did Elvis. But we don't think of them as freaks, and Michael should not be thought of as that way. That's all I'm asking for is fairness.
Can you talk a little bit more about what you were planning for Tuesday?
Tuesday at 2 o'clock in front of the Apollo, Janelle Procope, president of the Apollo, and I will begin a community celebration. We're going to let artists come and people that want to say and do something in honor of Michael. And then at the exact hour that he passed, I will step forward and give our eulogy here from the Apollo Theater, which was the temple of black music. Michael and his brothers performed there. Michael came back in 2002 and did a concert there at the request of President Clinton for the Democrats. It was ironic, the night that Michael performed for the Democratic Party, I had come by to see Michael's performance. I was leaving, and it was then that one of his bodyguards said, "Michael wants to see you." And I said, "All right, but tell him I got a speaking engagement. I can't stay for the rest of the show." He said, "Meet us at the Palace Hotel," and he gave us the room number. And I went to see him that night at 11 o'clock, and that's when he started telling me that he felt they were trying to take his catalog, and he needed my help and all of that. And I told him, I said, "Well, it's funny you said that, because in 3 weeks, we're having a seminar on are they treating blacks fair in the music business. Johnny Cochran, who's your lawyer, and I, at the House of Justice, my headquarters." He says, "I'll be there, get there." I said, "Okay," and after Michael will be there. And it was going to be that Monday, 3 weeks. That Friday, before that Monday, I answered my phone. I said, "Hello," and it was Michael. Michael said, "Sharpton." That's how he used to talk. Sharpton. I said, "Hey, Michael, how you doing?" He says, "Where's the seminar?" I said, "I told you it's at the House of Justice, all that on Monday." He says, "Monday, I'm here." I said, "You're here?" He says, "Yeah," and he was staying here in Manhattan. So I said, "Well, if you're here, I know you get up in the afternoon, but we have a rally every Saturday morning, and da-da-da. You should come by and do the broadcast." "I'm coming." I said, "Yeah, right." Now, because Michael, like most entertainers, get up about noon. 9:30 next morning, big limousine pull up, and he was there. And that was the day he took the picture. He did the rally and stayed over and went and came to the seminar that Monday.
Can you give us just a little bit of an idea? You're going to California today or tomorrow?
I'm going to be there tomorrow. I'm leaving tonight,
Okay,
going to Atlanta
tonight.
to do a speaking again. I'll be there tomorrow, meeting with Attorney Joel Katz, who's Michael's attorney of record, and Jermaine and Jackie, his brothers, and then and Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, the parents.
Okay.
I've talked to all of them on the phone.
Are you privy to any funeral arrangements here?
I think they're doing that this weekend. They'll probably finalize by tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
I'll probably know. I'm not part of how they finalize it, but I'll know. And
Okay.
I talked to Attorney Katz this morning, who was at the airport in Atlanta, leaving, headed there. And they're meeting today and tomorrow, and I'm leaving the meeting tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. Did you get a shot of water? Yes. Okay, great. Thanks so much.
And how's the family holding up?
You know, Mr. Jackson seemed very sad and not himself. You know, I know Mr. Jackson as long as I know Michael. And you know, he's older now, and he just did not seem himself. And I had him even say a few words on my radio show yesterday, which is the only things he said publicly. But you could tell he's not himself. Mrs. Jackson couldn't even come to the phone.
Because they
She's
were very
devastated,
close.
very close. And Jermaine and Jackie were devastated yet determined. They want to see their brother treated right. They want to see their brother in the right light. And they kept saying to me, "You got to keep," they've been watching, you know, me doing the talk show, saying, "You got to keep out there and defend Michael. He can't speak for himself now." And the other thing they said, which I don't mind saying on the record, I don't think I've said it anywhere, is that what very few people know is that 3 or 4 weeks ago was Joseph and Catherine's 60th wedding anniversary. And they had a affair for them in Las Vegas. They both live in Vegas now.
The kids had.
And the kids had an affair for Mr. and Mrs. Jackson. 60 years of marriage. And all of the kids came and the grandkids, and Michael came with his children. And he said, with all of this about Michael didn't get along with the family, Michael was there with his kids, all the grandchildren, all the kids, including Michael, everybody. And he said that Michael said to his brothers, he says, I want y'all at the end of my tour to come out a few of the dates and do something on stage with me. He said, I want us all, you know, to